Scene one, take one. Action. What I love about movies is you never know what you're really going to expect, even with some of the big blockbusters. But what I love is the independent filmmaker. And my next guest, Mr. Gregory Siegel, is an independent writer, producer, and director. And Gregory actually directed me in my first small role in the film Culturegeist. So we're going to talk to Gregory about what it's like to be a producer, writer, and director of small independent films, how he got started, why this is his passion, and what he loves doing with making movies. And it's going to be great. I actually met Gregory a few months ago and got to know him very well. Truly genuine, authentic guy. And if you watch his work, so many great projects that he has, and his mind moves 1,000 miles a minute. So he's got already new things in the works. It's going to be great. So without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Gregory Siegel. Cut.
Our world is changing faster and faster. Humans are constantly on the go. Over 70% of people are not happy in some way. They're living in the shadows of fear, especially in their careers and life. Are we humans doomed? I don't think so. And that's where I come in. My name is Joseph Stanley Reichowski, otherwise known as Joe Woo. Each week, I seek to uncover what it takes to truly live your life to the fullest by finding out through interviewing people what were their failures and what did it take for them to reach success. Their stories are truly inspiring, and perhaps they'll inspire you to let go of your fear and live your career and life to the fullest.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Whatever It Takes show. It's an awesome experience today. I've got Mr. Gregory Siegel of Unidentified Films. Greg, what's going on?
Doing great. Just living the dream or the nightmare or whatever it is.
That's it. I love that. It's either or. Today could be the nightmare. Tomorrow could be, the dream. But yeah, this is going to be great. This is really, I think, a special one for me because I'm involved in a project you're working on, which we're going to
Yeah.
talk about. Which is thrilling for me and exciting. And let's just dive in, man, and just get to it.
Sounds good.
All right. So, Greg, why did you get into filmmaking? Like, what inspired you to get into it?
Well, I've always been a creative ever since I can remember. It's really wild. I have a 10-year-old son. It's really wild seeing him and the way that his mind works at this age. It really brings me back to when I was that age. Constantly coming up with ideas in my head, always having stories, ideas, movie ideas that just pop up in my mind. So it's like, I feel like I got into filmmaking because I didn't really have a choice in the matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? These thoughts, these ideas have just been in my head my whole life, and I had to do something with it.
I love that. That's really cool. So, kind of like me, you've had all these crazy ideas and unique ideas in your head. Now it's time to just unleash them and get them
Yeah,
out. That's
exactly.
really cool. That's cool. And you still have so many ideas because as we've conversed and talked a little bit, it's just amazing to hear how you think in your thought process. I love it. There's so many cool things, and you're thinking like way ahead. I'm like, man, you're already thinking all the next projects, and you're still working on these. It's pretty cool. So
Yeah, I definitely do that.
yeah, it's just like me. It's pretty cool. So how did you break into business? Like, what was your first project, and what was that process like? Just starting to do a film.
Yeah, so I love the word business is interesting to me because I don't ever really feel like I ever did. I feel
Right.
like I kind of created my own or I'm still in the process of creating my own take on what the film business is. And
Right.
when I went into this whole thing, my thought process was, when I first started getting back into film, because for the longest time I was out of it because I was being raised in this kind of 9 to 5 job ideal. You got to get a job in something that is profitable and,
Right.
that whole thing. Right, right. But then I kind of just, I was like, you know what, this is my dream, this is what I want to do. And I started creating films that I just would put on my YouTube channel, Unidentified Films. And that's kind of
Right.
where the whole thing started for me, because I think Culturegeist is really the first time I'm taking it seriously, the current project I'm working on. I
Right.
think that it's the first time I'm really like taking this concept full fledged. But initially, the idea was start putting things out on YouTube and hopefully people will see them.
Right.
And even though a huge amount hasn't yet, I really do feel like Culturegeist is the one to do that. Um, so to answer your question, I kind of got into this by coming up with this concept of
Right.
let's create an alternative to the film industry that fully takes place online, that is free, that people can participate in and be a part of the process.
I love it. I think that's cool. And I get that sense too as I watch your previous work and especially with table read and things like that, and just seeing all the stuff out there. Like I love like that approach. And even working with you, I worked with a lot of people and there's just some really cool approach that you have. It's very genuine, very authentic, and it's nice to have that. It's almost like a community, there's like a tribe in a way, if you would say, like that's out there. So it's kind of neat what you're building. I like that approach. And I got that sense very early on, which is neat.
Yeah, yeah, for
So,
sure. That's really what I like to do, is because in my mind, you know, I see the film business as a business, and I don't concern myself with business. I don't like that
right,
word. I feel like it's the sucker of art, and I want
right,
to help promote artists to create freely. That's really what it's
yeah,
all for me. Yeah.
right. No, I think it's great. Would you say your style of filmmaking is, and is there like let's say a director that inspired you?
Oh man. Well, I could say like my film style is definitely composed into two things. And it's actually funny that the two filmmakers that inspire me the most fit into one of these two categories. So I definitely have a side of my filmmaking style that is very campy and bizarre and silly. I'm really inspired by bad movies like
Right,
Lamageddon, Sharknado. I just have that sense of humor. So with the
love
whole
it.
Table Saga, people will look at that body of work and be like, well, this guy just likes to create goofy stuff.
Right,
And it's true, so that's definitely where the Sam Raimi, influence comes
yep,
in, is that goofier kind of campy, wink, wink, nudge,
right,
nudge style, that,
yeah,
meta humor.
right.
But
Love it.
then right, exactly. And then there's the side of me that's more intellectual, more kind of, I love like twists and playing with time and space. And
Right.
that's where the Christopher Nolan influence comes in through.
Oh, I like that. I
So
love
I'm kind of
Nolan's
a
work.
little bit of
Yeah,
both. I've got that
right.
Raimi and I've got that Nolan. Yeah.
That's really cool. Two awesome directors. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, I would say for me, yeah. I mean, I love them. I would say they're probably two of my modern day favorite directors. Growing up, it was obviously Spielberg inspired me quite a bit, and then Alfred Hitchcock with some of his
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure.
And then in school and in movie class, like I always pick like his movies to kind of analyze and write reports on in school. So, but that's cool. Yeah, Sam's great, and so is Chris. And his stuff is, I mean, obviously, Batman series I thought was cool. That was a unique take on things.
It
I
really was.
loved it.
Yeah, he knows how to take, because he's one of those people that like was
Yeah,
so underground, and then he blew up into
right.
Hollywood. He was able to take that vision into Hollywood and kind of shape the way that Hollywood is now. It's really interesting.
It is definitely for sure. So thinking of movies and I know you talked about how you have a lot of these ideas in your head and everything like that. How do you come up with a movie idea and concept? Like what's the method to your madness? You write it down, you put it on paper somewhere, record it, or how do you get that going?
For me, it's really interesting because I feel like other people who are on the autism spectrum might be able to relate to this.
Yeah,
Um, the way that our brains work aren't very linear, and at least a lot of the way that our minds work is like that. So for me, I wake up in the morning and I've got about 20 million ideas in my queue that are just circulating through a Rolodex. And so, as
right,
a creative, when I was younger, that was very overwhelming. I had all these ideas and nothing to do with them. But as an adult who does create for a living, I
right.
literally just take that Rolodex, I spin it until it hits somewhere, and I'm like, oh, let me grab that one. Oh, that one looks pretty cool. Let's see what I can do with this. And I start adding,
Right,
and you know, a lot of people, when they say when you're a writer, when you're a screenwriter, it's a cardinal sin to go into writing your script without having everything planned out. I disagree vehemently on that. I usually go into writing my scripts with absolutely bare minimum of an idea.
Wow.
And then as I write, things start to develop and change, and I'll go back and I'll rewrite and I'll change it. Sometimes I'll rewrite when the film is in post production. I'll be like, well, I need to add a scene there because that would be really cool to tie that in together. And I'm just all over the place.
Right.
Anybody who has ever worked with me can tell you that I'm really fun and I'm great to work with, but I'm pure chaos.
That's unique. I like that. I like that.
It's
That's
just
pretty
who I
cool.
am. I'm running around in a million directions trying to get my head right. But, sometimes the most, sometimes madness is what's needed to cultivate, brilliance.
Right. That's it. That's it. The chaos creates the beauty. Out
Right.
of chaos comes some order or some good things, as they say. So that's pretty cool. So
Right.
I love that approach. Yeah, I'm the same way. I was like, I got all these ideas, and like I write them down. I'm like, wait, all right, what do I need to go to today? And there's some other ideas that just came up, but after drinking some coffee, I'm like, man, it's like stop let me work on some. But I guess that's
Yes,
a good.
I
Guess it's
relate
a
to that.
good,
Yeah.
yeah, good problem to have for sure.
Yeah, it is. Like
So
you're right. Like I'll be in the middle of working on an idea, then another one comes out, and I'm like, I got to
yeah,
throw that one back in the Rolodex so we could recircle next year.
right, exactly, exactly. So what would you say out of all the films you've done so far, what's your favorite so far that's like done and completed? I know Poltergeist, we'll talk about that in a second. That's probably your favorite, or at least upcoming. But what's one that's like that's my baby so far?
Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good question. Because like you said, obviously, I think Culture is going to be that once
Yep.
it's done. But not counting that one, I would probably have to say, um, the Table Saga for me is definitely my
Yeah.
baby. But if I had to choose one in that, because the way that it's set up is it's a series, but they each work as kind of like a completed film in a way. So I would
Right.
probably have to say that for me, it's chapter 3, Table Read Noah's Ark, just
Okay.
because it's so absolutely um, just crazy, and it's so meta the way that it's like a character who's in a different timeline writing the scripts to the first movie, and you're trying to
Right.
figure out who is this guy, why does he look like the guy from the first one, and why is he writing a script to the movie that we just saw, and it's just so like bizarre, and the way that it turned out, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, and I did, and
Right.
I was able to do it exactly how I saw it in my head for the first time. And
That's awesome.
I think that's why, because I was able to be like, hey, I can be this crazy and have it work. And I think
Right.
that's why it's one of my favorite works to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a great series. I watched it and was like, that's pretty cool. So it's unique. Yeah, and your stuff is unique. I like it. It's definitely got a cool vibe to it. So
Yeah.
pretty neat. So thinking about Culture, right? So this is obviously your baby now, and probably after that, once it's done, this will be your favorite. It's a unique movie for sure. And what I've seen in the small, very very small part that I'm in it, in the trailers you've seen, you can feel it and see it. So it's almost ready for release. So what is really Culture? What's it about, and what are you looking for out of it?
Yeah, so for Culture in terms of what it's about, I got to be very careful because I'm keeping
Yep.
so much of the
Yep.
story under wraps. But what I
Keep it quiet.
think, what I do feel comfortable saying about it is that it's clearly a murder mystery that's told through three different time periods, three different generations of computers.
Right.
Everything takes place on a computer screen. So you've got what's happening in Windows 95, what's happening on Windows 2000, and what's happening on Windows 10, and a few other operating systems here and there. But
Right.
those are the three time periods we're really focusing on. And so, there's these computer programmers that went missing in the 90s, and people are trying to figure out what happened to them. And obviously, there's a lot of twists and turns, and there's this huge twist. And
Nice.
a lot of people know they can expect twists and turns from me. That is definitely a signature thing of mine.
Right.
I definitely kind of take that from growing up watching M. Night Shyamalan. I love a
Yeah.
good plot twist.
Yeah. I love
So
that
there's
stuff. Yeah.
definitely plot twists here, and it's crazy. Nobody's ever going to be able to guess it. It's one of those crazy ones. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think that's really kind of what it is, and how the whole thing started too is interesting, because I came up with the title of for Culture back at the end towards the end of 2021, and I
Right.
knew that I wanted to make it a movie but I didn't know what the movie was going to be at that point. I just liked the title.
Right. It is a cool title. I really like it. Yeah.
Right. So I
Yeah.
eventually, over time, it went through several different versions. There, at first, it
Right.
was supposed to be like a series for like this political commentator who was going to be like, you know, criticizing both the left and the right, but it was going to be like a secret identity, and that his name was going to be Geist.
Oh,
That his
wow.
series was Geist. I scrapped that.
Wow.
It ended up moving into this analog horror, like backroom style idea that was supposed to tie into the Table Saga secretly, but then I didn't go that route, and eventually
Right.
it ended up turning into what it turned into now. So, like I said, I will go through every different direction I possibly can before I land on the one that intuitively my brain is like, this is the one.
Right. That's very cool. That's neat. And watching the trailers, you could definitely see that and get the sense of a lot of twists and turns and just the raw emotion and everything out of it. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So I'm excited for it. And this is going to come out early next year.
Yeah, I'm hoping for, anywhere between, I want to try to do the premieres in like January, then have everything
Yep.
come out online in February is what I'm hoping for.
Awesome. That's very cool. And so how long would you say it's taken you for this type of project so far? Like if you were just to ballpark the hours, I'm sure it's quite a bit, but just from the time you did pre-production and now you're in post-production, what would you say it's the amount of time you spent? It's probably significant, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, I said towards the end of 2021 is really when things kind of started taking off. Like I came up with a name and I went through kind of all
Right.
these motions. Started writing the script when I had the official idea. I sat down. I was like, "This is the one." My intuition was going off. I was like, "There's something about this idea that I think is going to be a
Right.
turning point for my career." And that this point, that was probably right around maybe early 2022, maybe
Okay.
spring, early summer of 2022. Started writing the script officially probably around June. Finished it in June of 2023, which was kind of recent. And we really literally
Yeah.
filmed the whole thing probably in the span of 3 or 4 months total, maybe.
Wow.
It didn't take long to film at all because everybody was, it was on computer screens. Everything was
Yeah.
done separately, filmed,
Right.
and that's why a lot of the actors haven't actually even met in person because there are
I know,
people
I
from all
know. That's
over.
the thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind
We've
of
been
cool. It's
filming
unique.
everything separately. Right. I would drive all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina, film a scene there, drive back to Atlanta, film a scene here, and I was going everywhere.
Oh,
And
wow.
somebody from Toronto came down to film, for this as
Oh,
well.
that's
So
right.
it,
That's
it's
right. Yeah, I know that is.
crazy.
Yeah.
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 It's been
That's
crazy. So I
cool.
would say that, like, and then also a lot of the work is having to be done on me for screen recording a lot of
Sure.
these operating systems.
Right.
Yeah, probably about a year and a half,
Wow.
maybe in total. Yeah.
And you could see it too. You could feel it because it's interesting how you say it, like all of us, as far as the actors in it, really have never met. And some of them online, like as we got tagged and stuff, I'm like, oh, really cool. And then we sort of chat. I'm like, oh, I got to get you on my show. And it's like, yeah, this is really going to be unique and cool. And there's a cool vibe out of everybody. And that's what's I think amazing about it is you can feel people put their time and effort into it. But I can only imagine the the amount of nights and everything the time you put into this. So it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
the sleepless nights. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
exactly. And
Staying up until 4 a.m. editing. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But that's the best though. You're like up, you're like, all right, what am I doing? Wait, and I've done that too, where I'm like editing just a short video or something. I'm like, wait, what I just do? Oh crap, I screwed up the audio. Wait, we're gonna, redo it or something. And yeah, or I didn't save it. I'm like, oops, and never easy. But you really brought up a great point too, just about the process, right? You come with an idea and a concept and just allowing it to sort of morph into what it was, like you talked about Poltergeist was supposed to be about somebody, and now it's sort of a whole mystery, basically over
Mhm.
different time spans. So that's a unique
Yeah.
thing. And I think just sometimes people get trapped in that creativity of like, all right, I'm boxed in, this is my tunnel vision, I'm sticking with it. And you just allowed it to kind of flow. And I can only imagine how it
Oh
would have
yeah.
been differently, but this seems like this is it. It makes
It does.
sense.
It
Yeah.
does. Whenever you say that's a good term of putting it like this is it, because like I've felt that, and I've had so many reminders from the universe,
Yeah.
telling me things. I've had like readings, numerology. I'm very spiritual, so I've had a lot of, different types of confirmations from various sources that just
Right.
say like there's something about this project that's different than the others, and I felt it since day one.
Right. Exactly. And I think what's also unique about this too is your strategy for marketing it, right? Releasing it on
Right.
YouTube, which is great, but also too, can you talk about that whole strategy, like YouTube as well as the marketing you have behind it? Because you do have, I think, some grassroots marketing where you got posters, t-shirts, but what's that all entail? What's that look like?
So I've never been really a businessy person. I've always been a creative. And so in my mind, I'm like, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing and why. And so in my mind, I'm like, I have to think of something. There has to be something I can do. So I was like, why not utilize my creativity to find ways to market this? And so that's, because I have a tendency to be trapped in my own head. And I'm like, I keep on thinking I'm a one man show.
Right.
Um, but there are people out there that can help me with this, but I'm so stubborn and I'm like, I can do it all myself, right? So
Right.
I started coming up with this idea of, first partnering with different organizations, right? So like
Right.
it's all about the grassroots local stuff. I have the office co-working space that I rent out for my business here. They're heavily pushing this project, promoting it. We're actually going to be
Nice.
hosting the premiere here instead of like a big theater like I've done in the past. It's going to be more small, more intimate. It's going to, so they're really helping push this thing. Um, we're doing I partnered with Crunch Fitness, and I'm going to be a
Oh,
partner
nice.
with them, right, going to all of their clubs in Georgia and promoting at every single one of their events, giving out posters, letting people know that there's going to be this, you know YouTube original film. That's the
Yeah.
key word that you mentioned, is
Right.
YouTube original film. When I
Right.
kept on thinking about these other platforms, Hulu, Netflix, they always say it's like, it's a Hulu original, it's a Netflix original. I was like,
Right.
people are putting their stuff on YouTube, people are doing that, but I've
Yeah.
never seen somebody just come out and flat out say this is a YouTube original film. And
Right.
if they
Right.
have, I think that that's a really cool idea. If other people have done it
It
too, which
is.
I haven't really looked too much into that, but
Yeah. I don't think
I
I've
think
seen it now.
yeah, I can't really think about it. And that's not something that I came out and said, hey, I'm going to do this. It just kind of
Right.
automatically started because of the way that my philosophy is with my YouTube channel and using my YouTube channel for film. I've started doing other things too, like trying to boost myself in the algorithm by you know filming weekly videos that are about films and
Right.
reviewing films, and I've been more present on my YouTube channel to help that. So I'm trying
I think
like
that's awesome.
multiple ways. Right, I'm trying to go on TikTok, Instagram, working online, but I think that the online presence for me is probably going to be more important once the film is released, because I'm going to
Right.
try to get people to watch it. Right now, the hype for the release is really just all grassroots. I'm going to be going on a
Right.
hype tour soon, going to all these different states and handing out posters and really just trying to raise awareness for the film. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the idea of this YouTube original movie, trying to show that, like, hey, this is a movie that you don't have to pay anything for. There's no paywall. Just come and
Right.
and watch the art and be involved, and and just enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think it's a great whole movie, the concept from what I've seen, and you could feel it. And then also too, you could see the grassroots, just following you on social, what you're doing and everything. I think it's wonderful. I think this is definitely like you said, the big turning point. This is the shift, and I think this is going to take off. I'm excited for you.
I'm excited too, and I'm glad. I'm really happy to have you in it too. I mean, you
Yeah.
randomly messaged me, um,
Right.
you're like, "Hey, DM me," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I
Yeah.
DM'd you
And
and we talked.
right. And for me, one of my goals this year was I wanted to get into acting somehow. It was like I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. So every year I kind of set up something. And I've been on stage and I've spoken in front of people a lot, done different things. I'm obviously always on video and I got really comfortable. And my cousin did some acting and she was in a couple small, like couple films, like in small parts, like Invincible. She was in the stands for that movie, like
Wow,
Rocky Balboa. She was in the crowd and stuff like that. So things like that, like,
cool.
and she's outside of Philly, which is cool. And then she had a scene in, I think it's Always Sunny in Philly, that the show that was on TV. So she had that just going for her and she went to school, and it was great. And then I just was sitting around like last year, I was like, I got to do something different. I just want to do something unique. And that's how I kind of approach you. I went on a couple of these sites and signed up and I saw this and I was like, like some reason this whole thing just hit me. I was like, this really sounds cool. And I'm like, this is unique. And I was like, I got to be persistent. I'm messaging. And I'm like, I'm not letting this go. And just all the craziness I've had too. We've all had life happen. It just
Yeah.
worked out. So
Well, I'm glad you did. And what's interesting too is like the way, you said that there was something different and cool about this movie.
Yeah.
And the other
Right.
people who auditioned said the same thing. When
Yeah.
I used backstage for actors in the past for the Table Saga, I would maybe get 30 audition requests for each
Right.
project. And I'd have to like, be like, oh, that's not enough. So I have to try to bring on some of my friends to help me out and
Right.
be actors. Within 24 hours, within 24 hours, Joe, I got like probably about 3,000 audition requests.
Oh, wow.
And in total, after about a month or so, because it did slow down, but it came up to about 7,000, over 7,000 audition
Wow.
requests.
Oh,
So that's why one
man.
of the reasons why it took so long for me to get to you, because
Yeah.
I was getting DMs on my Instagram for the people who couldn't get on to me there.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
was crazy. And every single time once I narrowed down the cast to who I wanted it, everybody
Right.
said the same thing. I auditioned for this because it just seems like it's going to go somewhere.
Right.
And
And that's
everybody
it.
says
And
that.
yeah. Yeah. And then I just started watching some of your stuff. I was like, this is really cool. I like the vibe. It's unique. It's different. And it was kind of refreshing for me. Like, this is unique. I can get with this. It's like it's different. And it just hit me. And I was like, I'm not letting this go. And I just kept persisting. So but here's the real question though, probably people are gonna want to know. So what would you grade my acting?
I
You're
thought
right on
you
the
did
spot.
great.
That's
Yeah,
all
well,
good.
it was funny because I didn't have when you messaged me, I didn't have anything for you
Right,
in the
right.
movie, and I was like, you know what? And this is what I was talking about earlier. Well, I'll
Yeah,
throw a scene in, and I was like, let me just write something up, and I really liked what I wrote for it, and I was like, why didn't I do this before? This is perfect. This
right,
scene is now needed. It's now an important scene because it sets up a lot of the technology that's going to be needed to have an understanding for later in the film,
right.
right, with the client server computing that you talk about in that scene. So it's like there's a lot that's important, and so it all worked out the way it was supposed to
It
work out.
did. Yeah, it did. And it's you can see it all right. It's a beautiful project. It's just the second trailer that was out. It was like, wow, this is really cool. And just how you had it. And it's like it keeps you intrigued and it keeps you really like what's next? What's gonna happen next? So
Right.
there's definitely something there. So love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, my last question for you, and this has been an awesome, awesome time to get to know you even more and just chat about everything that you've been doing. I think it's wonderful,
Yeah.
what you're doing. But what's next for you and unidentified films? Like what's on the horizon?
Well, I've got first and foremost, I'm really, really excited to be working on the Table Saga season two.
Yes.
That is so. I mean, it's going to be absolutely insane, and very different than season one in a lot of ways. We're really kicking up the campiness and making it just really, really silly and fun. Um, but then I'm working on another serious project that's going to be called Irwin, and it's going to be very different than Culturegeist in the sense that it is
Wow.
traditional cinematography, but it's a narrative that takes place mostly in somebody's mind, and there's a lot of narration, and
Oh
it
wow.
goes into issues of mental health and self acceptance, and
Oh
trying
neat.
to reunite with yourself in a really unique and interesting way. Um, there's another twist there, but
Right,
of
right.
course there is.
That'll be a twist, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta have a twist. I gotta. My mom always gets onto me for that. She's like, "You need to, you need to calm down with the twist." I'm like, "It's my signature move."
right. You got to stick with it. I know. I get a lot of that too. People are like, why are you doing that? And why do you say this or that? I'm like, that's
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So that's a good
I
thing.
get
Well,
that.
I'm excited for you. And it's really unique how life works and mysterious and how the universe does. You put something out there, and I will say this is definitely one of the coolest things. Getting to know you, getting to meet you, really becoming friends, and just enjoying your work. And
Yeah,
I think you're a really really cool person, and I think you've got so much. You could feel it and see it, and all the stuff you're doing. And there's so much out there that you're going to do. It's going to be awesome to sort of watch things just take off from here. So
I appreciate that.
it's really cool. And then where
Yeah.
can everybody find you again? If you want to just, and we'll put this up in the post too, but just, where's the best way to go to find you? I know on YouTube, obviously for sure. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yep,
yeah. YouTube, Unidentified Films is where I'm
yep,
really pushing all my work. But in terms of social media, my day to day life and what I'm just kind of doing, I post a a lot of stories on Instagram. So
Yep.
Gregory.Siegel is my Instagram handle. It's really easy to find me there.
Yep.
And then, I have a TikTok, which is, culturegeist.movie.
Yep.
I really haven't really done much with that yet. I'm working on it, trying to figure out what I want to do with it. But I
Right.
would say Instagram and YouTube are the top two ways to find me. And if you want to be in a film, or you want to be involved somehow, just send me a DM. And
Yeah.
I always like to work with people. If somebody shows interest and they're willing to take the extra step to just message me, I always
Yeah.
figure something out.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly what I did. That's perfect. That's a great way to end this is, hey, just be persistent, and just, if you're interested, you like it, go for it. You got to take that shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
very nice. I'm crazy, I'm chaotic, but I'm very nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, just what I like too is, like, we talked about authentic and just humble. Just a really cool guy. Like, I feel like I've known you for years. In the short time we've gotten to know each other, which is cool. So,
Yeah, I
and I'm sure
appreciate
we'll
that.
be, yeah, sure we'll be getting together at some point in person too to
Of
celebrate
course.
this, and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
So, well, this was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, Gregory Siegel, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate this. Love it.
Thank you.
Rolling. End scene outro. Take one. Action. I absolutely love doing that. I love being a part of movies. I love the joy, the excitement, the fear they bring. And I think you could get that sense and passion from listening to Gregory about his journey, his career journey into movie making, how he got started, what he's already created, and how he really rolls out his projects. And I think also, too, with the film Culturegeist, the unique marketing, PR, and advertising strategy. So unique and so interesting how he's doing that and what he's promoting. It's a lot of grassroots as well. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that all transpires. You're going to see yours truly promoting it. And yes, Gregory reviewed me and said I passed and I did really well in my acting debut. So a lot of weight and a lot of stress off my chest. So thank you, Gregory. And I truly appreciate your trusting me with this small role in the film. I'm absolutely ecstatic. It's great, and I'm just looking forward to see what you're going to bring to the table next. And I think also, too, what you can see is with how Gregory's mind works, he's got so many projects in his head lined up already. So it's a constant, ever-flowing state of creativity, and that's something to really behold and really to watch and see, and where he's going to go next with things. But each project seems to get more and more unique. He's got his own style, his own flair. Loved who he talked about, who inspired him, and I feel like I've got a movie scene here in my yard. I've got buzzards, I've got crows, I got my son having everything out here, so I'm in the joy and spirit of movie making. So maybe I'll start doing something again in addition to this. But again, thank you, Gregory, for your time, and we appreciate your journey, and we look forward to seeing what you're going to bring. And of course, Culturegeist 2024 coming soon. See yours truly in there. And that's it, and that's a wrap, folks. Cut. Later.